Mercy, you finally arrived. Wipe the dust from your shoes and come in, sugar. Your presence will be such a tonic for poor, dear Mrs. Beaumont. She's been fanning herself by the window in a state of absolute agitation awaiting you. Now, if y'all can find it in your hearts to indulge us for one fleeting afternoon, we are going to make a brave pretense of having actually paid attention in those drafty schoolrooms of our youth. We are going to cast our eyes upon some literature. Oh, honey, don't recoil like a wilted gardenia. We had that very same visceral reaction, I assure you. But please don't fret. This won't be some dreary, moth-eaten fourth-grade book report, and it most certainly is not that wretched English 101 paper you ghost wrote for that adorably dull fraternity boy, the one with the jawline of a god and the intellect of a damp brick.
In the humid shadows of the South, music is never merely a matter of meter or rhyme. It is a blood pulse, a haunting choir rising from the red clay and the stagnant swamp water. These melodies are our true inheritance, carrying the weight of a century's grief and glory in the time it takes for a tallow candle to flicker and die. Within the span of a few desperate minutes, a song unearths the same ghosts that Toni Morrison, Zora Neale Hurston, and Jasmine Ward spent hundreds of ink-stained pages trying to exorcise. The secrets they buried in chapters of typeset prose, the family rot, the hidden sins, and the fierce, jagged beauty of our land are all laid bare in the vibration of a single steel string. It is Black History Month, and in the New South, Black history is all of our history. Let's start with a simple question. Do you know about the Queen of the Smokies saying no to the King of Rock and Roll, then built a legacy for a Queen of Rhythm and Blues? In the quiet gardens of the Low Country, where the moss hangs like tattered lace from the ancient oaks and the shadows stretch long across the piazzas, there is a certain way we handle a departure. We do not claw at the sleeves of those who must go. We stand at the gate with a glass of tea and a spine made of iron. It is a polite tragedy, you see. It is the art of the good goodbye. Long ago, in the hills of the Appalachian spine, a white woman of the mountains named Dolly carved a small, sharp sorrow out of the air. It was a folk plea, a restrained thing born of professional duty and mountain stoicism. But then came the daughter of the North, Whitney, carrying the fire of the gospel in her throat and the sophisticated grace of a black South that had moved toward the cities but never forgot the soil. She took that mountain song and turned it into a Southern Soul Power Ballad, a liturgical declaration that echoes like the bells of St. Michael's across the marsh. The story begins in a hush. It is an a cappella opening that mimics the hollow wooden acoustics of a rural church at dawn. There is no music yet, only the narrator, a hyper-reliable witness to her own exile. She admits her presence is an interference, a shadow across a sunlit room. In our tradition, the past is the only inheritance that cannot be taxed or stolen, and she gathers her bittersweet memories as if they were family silver, the only thing she truly owns. Listen to the rhythm, like the heartbeat of the storyteller by the fire. The song is a lament for the irretrievable. It follows the logic of the Great Migration, the understanding that to survive, one must sometimes leave the home they love. It is the burden of honor, a theme that haunted the pens of Mr. Faulkner and Miss O'Connor. This woman is not being cast out. She is choosing the wilderness for the sake of the other. She is the architect of her own romantic martyrdom. The production bridges the world of Nashville's Music Row and the deep, brassy Memphis sound. When the Kirk Whalum saxophone begins its prowl, it replaces the lonesome pedal steel, signaling that we have moved from the porch to the ballroom. The structure itself is a Baptist testimony. It starts in a whisper of humility, a confession of the Spirit, and then at the great climactic shift, it rises into a shout. It is the emotional arc of a Sunday morning service, where the pain is finally transformed into a cosmic glory. This was the moment the color line was not just crossed, but erased in the name of heartbreak. By reclaiming these country roots, Houston asserted that the Southern heart is a universal thing. She subverted the trope of the scorned woman, standing instead with absolute agency, a queen in self-imposed exile. It is a song of dignified melancholy, avoiding the grotesque decay of the swamp for the clean lines of the romantic. There is a whisper that still lingers from Beale Street to the Ryman Auditorium, a story of a king who reached for a crown he could not wear. You see, the colonel, a man who understood the price of everything and the value of nothing, demanded that Dolly surrender half the publishing rights if Elvis were to record the song. But Dolly, with that mountain iron in her blood, stood her ground and refused to sign away her legacy even to the king of rock and roll. It was a choice of profound foresight, for it left the door open for Whitney to one day claim it as her own. Yet the song haunted Elvis nonetheless. On that gray day in 1973, as he and Priscilla walked down the courthouse steps after signing their lives away to separate destinies, he didn't use his fame or his jewels to say goodbye. Instead, he softly sung those very words to her as they descended into their new divided lives. It was the ultimate Southern gesture. Even in the wreckage of a marriage, there was a performance of poise, a final melody shared in the shadow of a good goodbye. And the legacy, it is as solid as a strip mall in Savior Park. Miss Dolly, with a wisdom as old as the hills, took the royalties, the Whitney money, and invested them into a historically black neighborhood in Nashville. She built a physical monument to a vocal ghost. She would say, "This is the house that Whitney built," proving that we are all, in the end, each other's people. In this region, we are obsessed with legacy. We play this song at weddings to celebrate the promise and at funerals to honor the memory. It is a sacred relic of nostalgia. It reminds us that in the South, goodbye is never truly the end. We simply tuck the love away in a velvet-lined box, keeping it safe until the humidity of life finally gives way to the coolness of the eternal.
Now don't stand there looking at me with those wide, wounded eyes, honey. I can't bear a scene when the humidity's this high. If you're looking for that melody, that sweet, aching little tune we just talked about, it's waiting for you down in the description. It's tucked away like a love letter you weren't supposed to find, but there it is, plain as the moon over the delta. And listen to me, sugar, don't be cruel. Reach out your hand and tap that like icon, and for heaven's sake, subscribe to us. A soul needs a little attention to keep from fading away into the wallpaper, and we've always depended on the kindness of strangers like you.